Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a pattern paper mixing and matching video. I shared these paper pads in my recent haul and said that if anybody was interested, I would do a more in-depth video kind of sharing why I picked the particular pads out and what patterns and colors and different prints I would mix and match on a card and why, and what ones I would not mix and match and why. I've done a couple of videos in the past, but it's been a good long while since I've done one, so I thought I would share one again. And we've got two fall paper pads that we'll be going through today and two Christmas pads. So I'm just going to set these all off to the side and we will go through them one at a time. So the first one we're working with is going to be the Echo Park Sweater Weather 6x6. And what drew me to this one was the cooler tones that were mixed in with the warmer tones. So we've got the typical fall shades of like a rusty red and yellow, olive green, and the orange. But then we've also got this lighter aqua and more of like a teal shade that I really enjoy. It kind of mixed in throughout. So let's go ahead and go through this one. All right, so I've zoomed in a little bit there for you. And so we're going to start with the beginning where we have a beautiful sunflower print. I love seeing prints like this because I can already see that there's going to be a lot of things that I can mix and match with it. This is definitely going to be a print that I would use in layers on a card. So, let's look through and see what else we could mix and match with that. Also, by the way, there is a very subtle gingham in the background. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but it's like a little white and super pale aqua gingham print in the background. It's just barely there, but it just provides a nice bit of texture. So on the back, we've got some leaves. That could work. I think that could definitely be a print that we would mix with that because it is tone on tone. We could probably find another print to work with that as well. We've got some cut aparts. I never use these, but I would use the pumpkins on the back, but obviously not with this. This is a bolder print. This is a bolder print. I never mix more than one bold print on a card. So when I'm always looking for one bold, one tone on tone, and often one that will kind of pull things together, which could be like a multicolored plaid or a small colorful polka dot or something like that. Or the leaves. The leaves could also work. So you could almost mix some of the leaves in with the sunflower. I would not mix only these two. You need something to break up the two colorful prints. So in that case, you could use this one, although I probably wouldn't want to do leaves and leaves. So if I were to use this print with the sunflowers, I would look for something else. Maybe the aqua, even though there is a subtle leaf print on there, it's much more spread apart. And it's not obvious that it's a leaf. It almost just looks like a little textural element, almost like a diamond shape. So that one could work. I think that one would also work really well with the pumpkins. The sweater print is also another bold print. So this is one that I would not use with the pumpkins or the sunflowers. That would be on its own mixed with one of these softer, more subtle prints. Okay, here we have a nice plaid. That could work really well with the sunflowers and then maybe a little bit of the leaf print involved in that as well. Or you could do another tone on tone print if you wanted to go for something a little bit more subtle, like those three right there could work nicely. And same with the pumpkin print and probably the sweater as well, yeah. So we have more cut aparts, which I would just use the back side. And here's what I'm talking about with the colorful plaids. So this would be another one that I could mix and match with this as long as I had something kind of breaking them up. In that case, I could use the leaf print if I were only using one, or any of the more subtle prints that I showed you, like this one as well. Then we have another pumpkin print, and this one I would say is a bold print. It is on a smaller scale than the typical bold print, but because there are so many colors and we have this kind of bold stripe with them, and also the leaves in between. I do feel like this is a more bold pattern. So I would probably mix this with something a little bit more subtle, like one of the softer tone-on-tone prints, or you could put it with the colorful plaid again. So this is the same one that we would have used maybe with the sunflowers. I actually like it better with the sunflowers, but it could work with this one. But again, I would probably want to break it up with one of the more tone-on-tone prints. So I would use at least 3 prints in that case. Here we have a nice olive. This one is really subtle. It's just got a very fine chevron print in it. This one would look really nice with the leaves. A lot of times in paper pads, they will put a coordinating print either right next to or on the back of a paper. So that one would also go nicely with the rows of pumpkins. Here we have a really cozy kind of desaturated teal and aqua check, which I really enjoy. This one would also look really nice with the leaves or the sweater. That would be really nice with the sweater because of the cozy texture. We've got more cut aparts, but here we have a colorful polka dot. See, these are the things that I'm looking for when I'm looking through a paper pad online and trying to decide if it's something that I'm gonna pull the trigger on and actually purchase, or if it's just something that I can look through and say, okay, I can appreciate that that paper pad is beautiful, but it's not going to work to the way that I like to put cards together. But this one is, because we've got those colorful plaids, we've got those colorful polka dots, we've got the subtle tone-on-tone prints, and we've got a lot of bold prints as well. So this paper pad is a great one. Echo Park is always one of my go-tos because they just really know how to do a paper pad well. Here is another kind of bolder print. This one is just a smaller scale of the one in the front, but it does not have the subtle checked background like this one does. And again, that one I would probably mix with a more subtle print just because it is on a smaller scale, and so there's more of it. So this one is a larger scale, but there's less of them. They're more spread throughout, and it kind of gives you a break with that subtle background behind. Whereas this one is much more visually stimulating because the print is smaller and they're more clustered together, so there's more of them. There's more places for your eye to hop around and look. So combining this with a colorful polka dot or something, that could be a little bit distracting from your focal image. It would really depend how much of it you used. If you did want to mix something like the polka dot and this, I would only use a small amount of one of them. But I think it would be probably better served going over a more subtle print like the chevron, or even this cozy plaid, or the leaf. The leaf is almost too bold just because the leaf is a little bit larger scale, and since this is a smaller scale, they're a little bit close, so I probably would not mix those two, but maybe the blue one, since it's a little bit more scattered and there's more space in the between the print for your eye to find some rest. I hope this makes sense to you guys. But anyway, so on the back is a nice subtle leaf print. That one could work because it is so tone on tone, like those leaves are barely there. So even though they are on a similar scale to this one, I could see these two being used together just because the print is so subtle that it's not too distracting to the eye. And then here we have a nice scattered leaf. Again, I probably would not layer the leaves on top of leaves. I just feel like that's a little bit of an overkill. So again, I would go with like the chevron or maybe the cozy plaid right there. Then we have a nice diamond interwoven like mustard shade, which is really pretty. That actually works really well with those leaves. That one works nicely with the sunflowers. Maybe even better with the larger sunflower. Yeah, I feel like that could be really nice together. Again, just because the scale of the diamond print is a bit close and it is a bit more eye-catching. The tone on tone is just more of a variation between the dark areas and the light areas. But I think actually that could be nice too with that rust and the mustard with the sunflowers. And we've got more cut aparts. Tiny little mushrooms. So this is somewhere in the middle. It's not what I would call like one of my more bold prints, but it is colorful and there's a lot of it. So I would probably pair it with something that was a little bit more restful, like one of the tone on tone prints. I probably would not mix that with any of the bolder prints, just because if they were all the same color, maybe, but since they are colorful, I feel like it's just a bit too distracting with the way that they're in rows and stuff that really draws the eye with it being so symmetrical. And then we have these apple barrels. This is a really fun print as well. And I would consider this a more bold print, even though it's not super colorful, because we have the desaturated blue, which is restful to the eye. And then we have a lot of like large brown barrels. And then the colorful aspect is very small in there. But even so, I would still call this a bolder print just based on the size and the fact that the brown barrels stand out so significantly from the background. So this is another one that I would mix with a more subtle print, like maybe the, actually this one would probably go really well with the leaves, since there aren't any leaves on this print. Something like that could be really well, and it also would bring out the reds in the apples. Then we have a nice little kind of rust check there, a nice gingham. And that one would work really well with the sunflower print from the beginning, or the other sunflower print, the smaller one. That one would work really well with a lot of these, actually. It probably would work well with the barrels of apples, and it would work well with the leaves. So there we go. And then this pad is going to repeat. So that is our first paper pad, and I hope that was insightful for you guys. We're going to move on to paper pad number 2. So the paper pad number 2 is going to be the Simple Stories Cider and Donuts, and I was really excited for this one. I just loved both the colors and the imagery. Simple Stories is another one of my top pick brands. They're definitely one that I go back to over and over and over again, because they just know how to do a paper pad the way I like a paper pad to be put together. Plenty of companies make great paper pads, but you have to find what suits your taste. You know, a lot of paper pads maybe have a bunch of prints that don't necessarily work together, but if you're somebody that just wants a background behind your focal image and that's it, just one sheet, you know, you can buy, you know, there's tons of companies out there. But if you're somebody like me that likes to layer the pattern paper and really make it a design element of your card, like an eye-catching design element of your card, then paper pads like Echo Park and Simple Stories are going to be right up your alley. All right, so let's dive into this one. Make sure that I'm still all in frame. So they do always have these large things that you can frame if you want. I never use these, although in the past sometimes if there is a part that I really like, sometimes I will cut just a strip out of it. This one is a little bit large in scale for a card, so I probably wouldn't. I would just use the back side, which is a nice kind of sort of tone on tone plaid-ish type print. It's light teal and a darker teal in that desaturated hue, so this would work well with mixing with a lot of things, like for instance this colorful print here, which I really love. These would work really well together, and this is a print that I can already see, because there's such a variety of colors, that I could probably mix 3 or 4 different papers with if I wanted to, which I always get excited about, because I love doing that. I love when I can get like 3 plus, 3, 4, or 5. After 5, it's a little bit much, but between 3 and 4 is like my happy place of pattern mixing. So we have a text on the back. This is really nice and usable. It could work with this, but it's not my favorite. I would be looking maybe for something a little bit else. Could work with the mushrooms though, just because this is only black and white, or brown, dark brown and white maybe. And then we've got this colorful mushroom print. This one is more of a bolder print. It's on the softer side of the bolder range just because it is like a smaller size. It's definitely very different from the florals here. But it is so colorful and so symmetrical that I probably would not mix this with something too bold. I would probably use that as the bold print. The polka dots maybe, especially if you broke it up with something. I think maybe these 3 together would be a little bit much with the text and the lines and the polka dots, so probably not that. I think the 2 brown backgrounds are a little bit too close to use these together as well. So I probably would not mix those 2. Let's see what else we can find. So this floral print would work well with that brown polka dot. That could work. It could also work with this rust color, which would also... Actually, no, I probably would not put those together just because the size of the plaid is similar. It would almost like fit in the grid of the mushrooms, so it's a little bit too large for that for me. But you could probably put it with this one, although that's not my favorite combination. Here we have another really pretty floral, and that one could go with this plaid. I don't know if I would mix these together unless I had something separating them first, just because the size of all of these background flowers is very similar to the size of the polka dots. Let's see what else. Okay, this plaid looks really nice with that floral, and probably with, yeah, this floral as well. That could be really pretty together, especially if we had something more tone on tone kind of between. Here we have some super adorable little chipmunks. Love that one. Again, that one could maybe work. I don't know if I love it with that plaid, but it could definitely work with this one. I like that together quite a bit. The pumpkins would probably go really well with that pink plaid as well, because we've got those pink pumpkins in there. Or with this plaid, or way back at the beginning we had that blue plaid, which was very similar to the pumpkins here. That would work nicely together. And then on the back we've got this blue and olive plaid. That one could work with the... I don't love it with this just because there's not any pink or orange in this plaid, so that would not be my first choice. But it could work with the chipmunks. That could also work with the floral, because we've got some of those olive tones and the 2 blues in there. Again, I think the scale is a little bit too big for the mushrooms. We've got some more tags. On the back now we've got a very nice usable print. This is a kind of like a burnt umber brown. It's got a little bit of a reddish tinge to it with a little rust colored floral. I think that could be nice with that if you mixed something, not that. Maybe those 3 could work together nicely on a card. Maybe mixed in with the mushrooms since they are on a smaller scale, if you had something else in there to kind of break up the 2. As this is almost like a tone on tone because the background is that kind of reddish brown, and then you've got the rust. They're close. Now we've got another bold print. This one could work well with this floral, but it could also work with probably this plaid. Probably any of the plaids. This one would go as well. And then here we have the same print, but it's on an olive background with an aqua flower. And that one is just a little bit more bold than this one, because this one is very tone on tone. This one, instead of, you know, like 2 shades of like reddish brown orange, we have, you know, green and blue. But I still think that that could look really nice with something in here. Maybe with the bold, like, thankful print, that could work. Not the florals and the florals, it's too similar. Okay, my camera died and it doesn't even beep anymore because it's so old, so I never know when it dies. So if I miss something, I'm sorry about that. But we've got more cut aparts, and then we've got a nice colorful plaid, which would work probably really well with, it could go with the chipmunks, but it would have to have something in between and like a larger section of it and just a small section of one of these, because otherwise I feel like they're competing too much, just because it's such a wide plaid. And you can see it's much of a larger scale than a plaid like this. Maybe with the flowers, that could be nice. Again, I would want something breaking it up, but you could use more of these and just have like a small scallop in between or something. I don't know. I don't know if I would put it with that one. Maybe the mushrooms. It could go with the flowers as well. More cut aparts, and then we've got this acorn print that's on like a newsprint background. That's a fun one. You could mix that with the colorful plaid. And then this pad is going to repeat as well. So those were the 2 fall pads. Next we'll move into Christmas. So the first Christmas pad is the Simple Stories Santa's Village. And again, I just liked the mix of the traditional red and green with the pink and the aqua. I just thought that was fun. It's a color combination that I'm always drawn to for the holidays. So again, we've got a nice little scene here, but I would probably just use the back side, which is a really pretty holly print on a pink background. And then we've got some Christmas gifts. You could mix these 2 together, but it would need something breaking them up that was much more subtle, something definitely tone on tone. And probably not this, because that's still too bold. I do like the polka dot with the presents, but not with the holly as well. That's a little bit too much for me. Here we have a large scattered polka dot. That one could also work well with the presents instead of the polka dots. I wouldn't mix the 2 polka dots together, but maybe this, especially if the polka dot was in between. That could kind of look nice together, I think. I wouldn't mix the polka dot with the holly. I feel like they're just too similar in size, so that doesn't look nice to me. But this could go well with the holly, just the green plaid or check, I guess. I think that would work well with the holly print, and this one, if you wanted to use these 2 together, this would be a good break in between those 2. We've got the gifts, which I would just use this side, which I think is lovely. So nice with the poinsettias and the little roses. And that one could look really nice with the green. That one could look nice with the large polka dot if we had the green kind of between them. Like that combination right there. And then we have Christmas trees. Again, that would work really well with the plaid there. Or it works really nice with the little pine boughs on the back. It's just a subtle detail. It's too much with this one to me because we already have the pine boughs here and I feel like it's just too similar. But it kind of goes with the Christmas trees, especially if we have something between. Little tags. There's a smaller poinsettia print. That's really cute. No. That could be nice together with that polka dot, although they are kind of similar in scale, maybe not. Let's see if something else comes up for that one. We have another poinsettia print, but this one's on the black background, which really gives it a nice pop. I feel like it's a little bit too dark with this one. It could work, but, and I feel like this one's a bit too bold. Maybe the colorful small polka dot, that could work nicely with that because it's so small. It's much smaller than any of the florals in this print here. Okay, this one would work well with the poinsettias. Just a little bit softer green. And it also goes really well with this. I could definitely see that together on a card. In fact, I love that combination. We've got more tags, and then we've got some little starbursts or asterisks on a pink background, but they are kind of like in rows. So that also, rather than being more scattered, which is a little bit more relief to the eye, the fact that it's in symmetrical rows, I feel like that draws more attention. So you have to be careful with how you mix that. See, all of those are a bit too much. Unless you maybe broke it up with the green in between those two and only used a small amount of that. Nope. Okay, let's see what else that works with. Maybe with the Santas, there is a bit of pink on the little berries in his hat. That could maybe work together since this is so much larger. And then we've got another nice plaid on the back. Maybe those three together, although I wish this print were a little bit more scattered. I feel like that would have helped to work better together. But again, it depends on how much you use. If you only use a small amount, like just a little strip or a small scallop or something, you probably won't notice that it's symmetrical because you don't see the rest of the lines, the rest of the rows. So that would make it a little bit more usable with larger prints like those. I also like this one with that. I think that's really pretty. It's really refreshing. It reminds me of like mint. Very cooling. It would be nice for like a snowy scene. This could work with this one, although it's a little bit distracting. So again, you would want like a bigger piece of something in between, like maybe, nope, not the plaid because it's already another plaid. I wouldn't mix two plaids. I don't know. I probably just wouldn't use it with that one. I feel like it's a little bit close. Where's the larger one? Yeah, I like it better with the larger print. Then we have more cut aparts, and we have a candy cane stripe. Candy cane stripe is great because that works with the Santas. That works with the floral. It probably works, yep, with this floral. Stripes and florals always go well together, in my opinion. You could even use it with the holly, especially if you added a little green to tie back into the green leaves. And then we have a nice blue polka dot. I probably wouldn't use this in a layering element, more as a background. So rather than using my Distress Oxide inks or anything else to create a background for my scene, I would just cut out a snowdrift and then place my images right on, on that as my focal panel. I mean, you can use it as a background, but I mean, as a layering element, it definitely would work with some of these other prints, but I just love using these for backgrounds when you need a quick and easy card, which we all do at Christmas time, am I right? So I love saving prints like that for that purpose. And then that is the end of that pad. It's going to repeat. So we're on to our last paper pad. And that is the Mintay Merry Joy add-on paper pack. So like I explained in my haul video, this is a paper pad that is not the main paper pad for this collection. The main paper pad would be more geared toward junk journaling, so it's going to have a lot of different elements that are kind of like layered in the background, different images, and I'll kind of show you, there's a few little cut aparts in here that are like what I'm talking about. But this is like a secondary paper pad that is more simple to go behind those more bold prints. But that's what I liked about this one. So let's go ahead and dive into it. This one is actually going to be pretty quick because it is more of just backgrounds. So these prints are things that I would probably only use one sheet of, or possibly like one as the background of the photo panel and then one on the card. So we could layer them that way. I don't see myself using 3 or 4 of these papers together. Again, for this one, I was really just drawn to the color palette with the red and whites and then the pinks and aquas. I just thought that was really pretty with the touches of gold in there. So let's go ahead and dive in. And as I explained in my haul video, these papers are much thicker as well than the average pattern paper. So you can see like these are super thin and bend really super easy. These are much thicker. It is sturdy. So that's another reason that I would not want to layer too many of these on a card. It would make the front of your card really heavy. But also there's just less mixable prints in here, but they're still great prints for just using more simply on a card. So we've got this nice stripe that only appears on the back cover, so you can even use the back cover as something, which I really do love this stripe. And then we've got a nice text print, so those two could work well together. Then we've got this lovely snowflake print that I would definitely use for a focal panel. And then we have a little crackle print. This one could go well for a background layering element on a card, maybe with this red and white plaid, which I really love. I could definitely see layering those two on the background and using this as my focal panel. I think those 3 together look really pretty. And this one as well. So this one is just a little bit different. This one has small snowflakes that are more scattered. This one has large snowflakes that are more symmetrical, but again, I think it makes a really great background. And again, I could use this as my focal panel, and this as my card base or whatever. Maybe you add a little bit of this pink candy cane stripe on the background as well. That could be really pretty. And then we have a nice cozy plaid, which I always love for the holidays. Again, you could maybe, I don't know if I would layer like the plaid and the stripes as much. It's a little bit nicer with the check just because there's more white space, but maybe you could use it on this one as well. And then we've got this nice snowflake. Again, this could be either a focal panel and just put your images over top, like more of a white Christmas look, and you know, a snowdrift, and then your critters, and maybe you've colored them all in like white and gold, and you know, like a more super classy Christmas card. So that could be a background, but it could also be a layering element. So you could add that to, you know, maybe one of the plaids or the gingham. Again, the gingham could be a fun and different background as well, or a layering element. And then we've got another really lovely plaid. That goes great with the snowflakes as well, or the Christmas music. I think that's a lovely layering element as well with any of the rest of these. We've got some little gingerbread cookies. Those could go nicely on maybe like with the plaid there. That could be really nice. And then here is what I'm talking about with all of these little cut-aparts that you can use. Their regular paper pad would have been covered in this kind of stuff, like all around the edges and layered up. I used to use this company for my junk journaling, and they make some really pretty paper pads if you're looking to do something like that. But if you're not, on the back we have another snowflake that would make a great focal panel. And here we have more little cut aparts, and then we have the pink snowflake, which I think is also super fun for a focal panel for the holidays. If you just, you know, don't want to do the traditional blue, I think pink is another lovely option for like a less traditional Christmas card. And then this card is going to repeat. So this one actually has 3 of every design. So there's our third 1, 2, and 3. So there's less patterns in this one, but more of each one. The other pads all had 2 of each print, and this one has 3 of each print. So that is the video for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it and found some useful information in there for your own card making and pattern paper mixing. You guys know how much I love pattern paper, and I just love spreading the joy of pattern paper to other people because I want these companies to stay in business and to keep making these beautiful papers for us to use. So definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know if you found some value in this. I really appreciate your feedback. And if you have any other suggestions for videos that are card making related but not a card, let me know. I'm always open to hear your thoughts. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you had a good one, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.